Okay, so you want to run a medieval mint. Perfect. You take silver, stamp the king's face onto it, and turn ordinary metal into the kingdom's money. Thousands of coins leave your workshop. Merchants trust them. Soldiers demand them. Tax collectors count them. Then one penny is discovered slightly underweight. The crown wants to know where the missing silver went. Your workers swear nobody stole it. Your accounts appear correct. But if the balance is wrong, this is not a bad business week. It may be treason. So how can the man making the kingdom's money end up owing the king more silver than he owns? To find out, we need a mint with evidence behind it. We will build one in late 13th century England, when Edward I reorganized the royal coinage. By this period, the London Mint operated inside the tower. Its rules, officers, assays, and accounts are unusually well documented. Earlier mints left fewer written instructions. For those, historians must reconstruct the workshop from surviving coins, dies, tools, laws, hoards, and scattered payments. So every number in our ledger needs a label. Some figures are documented. Some are calculated from documented charges. Some are only models used to explain the business. And some costs remain unknowable. Start with the first surprise. You do not privately own the mint. The king owns the right to create official money. You receive authority to manage part of that system. That authority is more valuable than the hammers. Anyone can flatten silver. Only the crown can make the result legal tender. Your workshop, therefore, sells two things at once. It manufactures metal objects, and it manufactures public trust. Lose the metal, and you lose money. Lose the trust, and the coins become metal again. That makes your most valuable asset invisible. It is not the furnace. It is not the silver. It is permission to place the king's guarantee on both. Now choose the location. A medieval mint is not an open market stall. It stores concentrated wealth in portable form. The workshop needs thick doors, controlled entrances, locked rooms, guarded chests, and reliable walls. By around 1279, the Royal Mint was established at the Tower of London. The fortress protected more than workers. It protected bullion, dies, records, and royal authority. A cart of grain is difficult to hide. A pouch of silver can disappear beneath a cloak. Security must begin before production begins. You need a receiving room for bullion. You need balances and official weights. You need furnaces and melting vessels. You need workbenches for cutting blanks. You need wooden blocks holding the lower dies. You need hammers, tongs, shears, punches, and files. You need locked storage for finished coins. You also need a pix chest for samples. Every room exists because silver must be controlled, while it changes shape many times. That changing shape creates the first accounting problem. Silver arrives as old coins, foreign money, plate, ingots, jewelry, scraps, and merchant bullion. None of those forms tells you the true value. A heavy object may contain too much copper. A bright object may be plated. A foreign coin may have a trusted design, but a different legal standard. So the mint begins with testing, not striking. A merchant presents his silver at the exchange. An official weighs the entire parcel. Then the metal must be assayed. Assaying asks a simple question with expensive consequences. How much of this object is actually silver? The answer determines how many English coins the owner receives. Pay too much, and the mint absorbs the loss. Pay too little, and bullion goes somewhere else. The exchange is competing for metal, even when the crown claims a monopoly. Merchants can hold silver. They can export it. They can melt it into plate. They can wait for better terms. A mint without bullion is a workshop without work. That is the first open loop in the business. You possess the legal right to make money, but you cannot force enough silver through the door. Now follow one parcel. A merchant brings old pennies and broken plate. The gross weight looks impressive. The assay reveals impurities. The official calculates the fine silver content. The mint then quotes what the merchant will receive. That return is lower than the face value of the new coins. The difference covers manufacturing charges and the crown's profit, called seigniorage. The merchant sees a deduction. The crown sees revenue. The workshop sees operating money. All three are looking at the same missing silver. Now the metal enters production. The basic sequence is remarkably durable. Melt the metal. Cast it into a workable form. Prepare flat blanks. Place each blank between engraved dies. Strike the upper die with a hammer. One blow transfers royal authority onto silver. That sounds simple because the final movement is simple. Everything before the blow is where the cost accumulates. The furnace consumes fuel. The melting vessels wear out. Metal sticks to tools and surfaces. Impurities must be removed. Alloy proportions must remain controlled. Workers must move hot silver without spilling it. Every fragment on the floor belongs in the ledger. Silver waste is not ordinary workshop dust. It is royal property in tiny pieces. The floor itself may need to be swept and processed. Ash, scraps, filings, and failed blanks can contain recoverable metal. Throwing them away is the same as throwing away coins. Now prepare the blanks. Medieval hammered coins were thin. Their discs were cut by hand. That is why surviving examples are often irregular instead of perfectly round. The blank must be large enough for the design. It must also carry the correct amount of silver. Too heavy, and every coin gives away value. Too light, and the entire issue becomes suspect. So workers trim, compare, and weigh. One blank at a time. Accuracy is slow. Speed is dangerous. Now inspect the dies. One die carries the royal portrait. The other carries the reverse design. The lower die is fixed into a wooden block. The upper die is held above the blank. The hammer strikes the upper die directly. That upper tool wears faster. A weak impression produces an unattractive coin. A cracked die can spoil an entire run. A badly engraved die can damage confidence beyond the workshop. The portrait is not decoration. It tells users whose authority supports the coin. The inscription identifies ruler, mint, or issue. The design also makes tampering easier to detect. In 1247, long cross pennies were introduced partly to make clipping more obvious. If someone cut silver from the edge, the missing ends of the cross exposed the crime. Design, therefore, performs an economic function. It protects the metal after the mint loses control of it. Now strike the coin. One worker positions the blank. Another steadies the upper die. The hammer falls. The coin jumps or sticks. The worker removes it and repeats the process. Again, again, again. The kingdom imagines money appearing by royal command. Inside the workshop, money appears through repetitive labor. The mint needs skilled die cutters. It needs melters and assayers. It needs blank cutters and hammer workers. It needs clerks who record incoming bullion. It needs officials who count finished coins. It needs guards who watch everyone else. After 1279, England's royal mints were managed by masters and supervised by wardens. The old practice of placing individual moneyers' names on coins ended. Administration became more centralized. Responsibility also became easier to trace upward. That sounds efficient. It also means one official can be blamed for mistakes made by dozens of hands. Now imagine the daily control problem. The assayer knows the metal's fineness. The melter knows what entered the furnace. The cutters know how many blanks were produced. The moneyers know how many coins were struck. The clerk knows what the books claim. The guards know who left the room. No single person sees the entire process. That separation reduces some kinds of theft. It creates opportunities for collusion. Two workers can conceal what one worker cannot. A clerk can alter a number. A melter can hide a fragment. A moneyer can substitute a light blank. A guard can choose not to notice. The mint's greatest internal risk is not one villain. It is a chain of small agreements. So the crown creates checks inside the chain. Bullion is weighed when received. Metal is tested before production. Outputs are counted and weighed. Samples are removed from production. Those samples enter the picks. The trial of the picks existed by at least 1282. Its purpose was independent verification. Selected coins were checked for weight and composition. The word picks comes from the box holding the samples. That box turns random coins into evidence. The master cannot choose only the best examples later. Production has already left witnesses behind. This changes the economics of cheating. Without testing, removing a little silver from every coin might create an enormous secret profit. With testing, the same scheme can destroy the operator. The expected gain rises slowly. The possible punishment arrives all at once. Now, return to the underweight penny from the opening. One light coin proves very little. Hand-cut blanks naturally vary. Medieval law allowed limited tolerances. The real question is whether the batch remains within standard. Coins may be weighed together. Selected pieces may be tested individually. Their metal can be assayed against an official standard. If the average is acceptable, the strange penny may be ordinary variation. If the batch fails, the problem belongs to management. That is why the missing silver is terrifying. It could be theft. It could be careless cutting. It could be a bad assay. It could be an incorrect alloy. It could be honest variation accumulating in one direction. The crown does not need to understand your intentions first. It needs its silver accounted for. Now open the revenue side. A mint does not earn by selling coins above their face value. Like ordinary manufactured goods, the coins are the accounting unit themselves. Revenue comes from charges applied when bullion becomes coin. Part covers the work of minting. Part can become royal seigniorage. For the short cross coinage beginning in 1180, documents record 6 pence per pound of silver for the moneyer's costs and another 6 pence for the king's profit. That exact division does not govern every medieval issue, but it exposes the basic business model. A small deduction, repeated across large bullion flows, can finance the workshop and enrich the crown. The mint therefore resembles a toll bridge for silver. Metal enters in one legal form. It exits in a more useful legal form. The operator collects during the transformation. But unlike a bridge owner, you do not control the toll rate. The crown sets the standard. The crown defines the coin. The crown can change the terms. The crown can also demand a recoinage. A recoinage is the mint's busiest opportunity. Old money must be replaced. Bullion floods into the exchange. Furnaces remain active. Workers strike coins for long hours. Fixed equipment costs are spread across greater output. Charges on each pound accumulate rapidly. This is the good year. The workshop is crowded. The pix fills with samples, and the accounts show large volumes. Yet high volume creates its own danger. Workers become tired. Dies wear faster. Fuel deliveries must not fail. Small measurement errors repeat thousands of times. A mistake of almost nothing per coin becomes a serious shortage across the entire issue. Scale is the profit. Scale is also the evidence against you. Now imagine an ordinary year. Merchants bring enough bullion to keep the workshop active. There is no emergency recoinage. Some days are busy. Some furnaces stand cold. Skilled workers still require payment or maintenance. Guards cannot disappear during quiet weeks. Dies and balances must remain ready. The crown still expects correct accounts. Your charges must support capacity that is not always used. This is where the mint begins to resemble infrastructure. It must exist before demand arrives. The owner of authority values readiness. The operator pays for idleness. Now imagine a weak year. Silver becomes scarce. Merchants dislike the exchange rate. Foreign coins circulate without entering your furnace. Old English pennies remain hidden in chests. Plate is more attractive than new coin. The workshop has permission, tools, and workers, but not enough metal. A mint cannot create silver by stamping harder. That sentence destroys the fantasy of printing money. Medieval coinage is constrained by bullion. No bullion means no output. No output means almost no charge income. The furnace is not the source of value. The silver entering it is. Now add rising costs. Charcoal becomes expensive. A furnace needs repair. The upper dies wear out. A skilled engraver demands more pay. Guards discover missing scraps. A merchant disputes the assay. The workshop returns too many coins to one customer, and too few to another. Every correction consumes time and credibility. Then comes the most dangerous kind of loss. The coins look correct. The books look correct. But the metal is below standard. That defect can travel across the kingdom before anyone notices it. Merchants discount the coins. Tax collectors reject them. Foreign traders weigh them more carefully. The crown's image remains visible, but its promise has weakened. A mint can survive a broken hammer. It cannot easily survive broken confidence. Now bring in counterfeiting. A false coin competes directly with royal revenue. It also shifts losses onto everyone accepting it. By 1352, counterfeiting the king's money was explicitly defined as high treason in England. That law is later than our 1279 workshop, but it shows how seriously the crown treated monetary imitation. Coin clipping was also punished severely. The crime removed silver while preserving the appearance of value. Each clipped penny became a private tax on the next user. The mint, therefore, fights two enemies outside its walls. Counterfeiters create unauthorized coins. Clippers reduce authorized ones. Both profit from the trust you created. Neither pays your production cost. This is the second major contradiction. A successful mint creates a product that criminals can exploit precisely because people trust it. Now we can build a transparent model. These next figures are not recovered medieval accounts. They are simplified units for understanding the incentives. Suppose merchants deliver bullion worth 100 units. The crown authorizes coins with a face value of 104. 4 units appear between bullion value and coined value. That does not mean the operator earns 4. Assaying, fuel, tools, labor, security, die cutting, accounting, and losses must be paid first. Suppose production consumes 2.5 units. Suppose the operator receives 3 units in minting charges. That leaves half a unit as operating surplus. The crown then takes the remaining authorized difference through seigniorage or contracted payments. The exact medieval numbers changed by issue and period. The structure matters more than our model. The operator handles enormous value while keeping only a narrow slice. Now increase output tenfold. Bullion worth 1,000 units enters. The same 0.5% surplus becomes 5 units. A successful recoinage can therefore be lucrative. But now make the coins 1% too light. The shortage is 10 units. Your 5-unit profit disappears. You still owe another 5. That is how the man making money ends up owing more silver than he earned. Volume magnifies a tiny margin. Volume magnifies a tiny mistake faster. Now compare 4 outcomes. In the strong outcome, bullion arrives continuously, production remains inside tolerance, and fixed costs spread across enormous output. The crown receives reliable seigniorage. The operator earns a respectable contracted return. Merchants receive trusted coins quickly. Everyone benefits because throughput stays high. In the ordinary outcome, output is lower and delays increase. The operator earns little after maintaining staff and security. The crown still receives its due. The mint survives, but access to royal silver does not create private riches. In the weak outcome, bullion supply falls while costs remain. The workshop is open but underused. The operator may borrow to pay workers, while waiting for metal that never arrives. There is no dramatic theft. There is no failed assay. The business simply becomes too thin. In the catastrophic outcome, a large issue fails weight or fineness tests. Finished coins may need to be withdrawn or remade. The operator faces investigation. Officials blame one another. Records are examined. Personal assets may become the only available repayment. One bad batch can erase years of careful work. That is not because coin-making has no margin. It is because the liability can exceed the margin. Now ask who becomes rich. The hammer worker does not. He sells labor. The die engraver may earn skilled pay, but he does not own the coinage. The merchant delivering bullion receives usable money, but pays for conversion. The master may earn fees or a contracted return, but carries administrative risk. The crown holds the strongest position. It controls the legal monopoly. It defines the standard. It receives seigniorage. And it can transfer production risk downward. The profitable asset was never the hammer. It was sovereignty. This does not make the mint unimportant. The workshop converts political authority into daily commerce. A royal order cannot buy bread by itself. It needs a trusted object small enough to pass between strangers. The mint manufactures that object repeatedly. Its product allows taxes to be collected, soldiers to be paid, merchants to price goods, and debts to be settled. The coin travels far beyond the official who authorized it. Every successful payment advertises the crown's reliability. Every rejected coin advertises the opposite. So could you become rich running a medieval mint? Possibly, during periods of heavy bullion flow, and under a contract that rewards output. But you are not becoming rich because you create money. You are earning a narrow fee for transforming dangerous quantities of royal metal, without losing weight, purity, records, or trust. The best operator controls process. The strongest beneficiary controls authority. And those are not the same position. The mint looked like the place where wealth was created. In reality, it was the place where wealth was measured, tested, divided, stamped, and claimed. The silver belonged to merchants before it entered. The coins belonged to users after they left. The seigniorage belonged to the crown. The risk in the middle belonged to you. That is the final ledger. You did not own the money. You temporarily owned responsibility for every missing grain of silver.